came.
All right now.
These are the brothers and sisters that have been sent on the outside of town. They're the least of these. They're those who are poor and are struggling, but they found somebody that's got the answer to their problems. Are you listening here? They were so impressed with Jesus that they were committed to hearing more of this good news.
Yes, sir.
They were so impressed with Jesus, they were committed to seeing more miracles. This crowd was committed to being in the crowd because they saw that Jesus was the answer to their local situations. Yeah, they had what I call, Sister Wilson, was a local commitment and enthusiasm or interest in God. See, they had never heard preaching like this in Galilee before. They never heard it, and as a result of it, they were so enamored with Jesus that they had to follow to hear more. The Bible says they came from Galilee and the entire region surrounding that sea. This was a crowd that saw him work at Peter's house. Remember that Sunday when Jesus went in church, Sister Carly, and he cast out a demon? And after church, Mark chapter 1, Peter and the boys took him home, and Mama was sick with a fever. And Jesus went in and healed Mama. And that night, the Bible says, and all of the town gathered outside of Peter's house. That was that crowd. And that crowd has now followed from chapter 1 all the way over into chapter 3. Stay with me. Are you listening today? And as they're now following, they are still in that. Now, some of them used to have devils. But now they've been set free. Some of them were once paralyzed with anxieties and fears, but now they've been set free. Some of them had diseases that they have been carrying for a long time, Sister Tina, but now they've been set free. And this crowd had become what I call as witnesses to the miracles. So much so that they went back into those villages and brought other people who were sick and ill and struggling, and they brought them now to hear Jesus. You know what I noticed about this text? They were following him because he had did something in their lives. And they were so moved by what he did in their lives, Brother Lord, that they couldn't help but tell somebody else and bring them along. I think I'm trying to go somewhere right here. See, if Jesus has ever done anything for you, you don't need a committee to teach you to go get somebody else. Gratitude and gratefulness and grace for what God has done in you will make you tell somebody else about the goodness of the Lord. Am I right there? All I'm trying to say is the mothers brought their babies, and the fathers brought their friends. And everybody that was concerned about somebody else, once they had come in contact with Jesus, they couldn't help but bring their loved one to have their problems fixed too. They were what I call was a following crowd. And the second crowd that jumps out to me in this text, Brother Crawford, is a coming crowd. Look at verse 8 for me. The Bible says in verse 8 that when they heard all he was doing, many people came to him from Judea, Jerusalem, Idumea, and the regions across the Jordan, and around Tyre and Sidon. And this crowd spread now to other regions other than just Galilee. Are you listening here? Let's see if we can open it and shed some light on the text. This coming crowd, Minister Benson, was what I call as an expecting crowd. They hadn't come into contact with Jesus, but they heard about all that he had been doing. And so they were willing to commute to see Jesus. Come on, church. This crowd was willing to leave their homes and come see Cynthia for themselves. This crowd was willing to sacrifice and bring sick folk with them on the journey to come and be with Jesus. Can I just unpack that right there? Listen, when you have found Jesus in the local church, you'll drive, I don't care how far it is. come and be a part of that community. I commute from the morgue because I can't wait to see Jesus in you. I pass hundreds of churches all up and down 198. Are you listening here? But I found Jesus in this local Bible. And that's enough for me to commute and drive because I know if I can just get to Psalm or straight out, I'm going to be all right. Somebody in here is praying for me. Somebody's got a hug from me. Somebody's got some good news from me. And every now and then I get some other stuff. Little Julian showed up this morning, and when he came inside, him and little Chassie, they ran up and they had some little drawings for me. They had been coloring and painting, and they couldn't wait and say, Pastor, I did this just for you. Are you listening here? That's what my drive to hear from 198 for the baby that said, I've been thinking about you, Pastor, and I just wanted to color to show you how much you mean to me. Are you listening here? That's what you get in a local church. That ought to make you commute. Are you listening? This crowd was willing to travel to come and see Jesus. Not only that, they brought the wounded, they brought the blind, they brought the possessed. Traveling hundreds of miles, days and days on end to come and see Jesus. Y'all looking at me funny, so let me unpack it a little bit. Can you imagine dealing with a devil for 4 days just to try to get him to Jesus? Cussing you all the way there? I don't know why you're going to see that blankety blank preacher. He ain't no good. They just like all the rest of the preachers. Are you with me here? In his mind, he said, leave us alone, leave us alone, leave us alone. Are you with me here? Can you imagine having to carry a sick by stretcher? Wasn't no ambulances. Carrying them by days because you know if I can just get them to Jesus, everything else is going to be all right. Are you with me here? That's commitment. That's determination. That's a hunger in this coming crowd. They brought them, I tell you, hoping that if they could just get to the Master, what they were longing for would come to pass. I want to spend some time in this verse right here, and I promise not to keep you too long, but I want to break down these regions. Go ahead. The word Judea here, it's in its word, a Hebraic word, but it literally meant they were coming from the southern division of Palestine. These were mainly country people who lived on the outside of the country. They were used to good preaching because John the Baptist ministry was in Judea. All right. But John was now in the penitentiary about to be beheaded. And when their preacher was gone, they didn't sit at home and say, oh, well. They heard that there was another preacher greater than John. And they were willing to travel from the country to come and hear this still preacher from Nazareth. Are you listening to me? Not only that, but they came from Jerusalem. Jerusalem was in Judea, but it was the capital of the region. They were city folk. They were culture.